Hey everybody, Jessica Cutler here with Invents, a corporate event planning company based out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we are in week 3 of our 8-week informational series. So now if you missed it, the last 2 weeks, you can always go back and watch them on our Facebook page. But just to sort of recap it, the first week we talked about how to become an event planner. What is that secret answer that gets you there? And then week 2, we talked about Invents the company. We kind of explored the who, what, when, where, how, then to now. So starting in week 3, we're actually going to get into something kind of cool. And in all reality, it's where the information series actually started. So it's where it's actually started. So it was the services that we offer, because so many times people are like, you know, I'll tell you like, oh, we have event enhancements, transportation logistics, blah, 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 blah. And they don't know what that means. So this is what we're going to do over the next 6 weeks. Now, obviously, I'm going to plug why it is important to work with an event planner, how we add value to any program. But more so than that, I just want these next 6 weeks to be informational. I want to offer some cool tips and tricks and thoughts and really sort of lead you into the conversations and the processes and the questions that I use whenever I'm working with a client to fit the best services to their program. So now, first, I want to give you some encouragement. Just like any other career or any other, we'll call it cultural cult, we have our own language, right? I remember whenever I first met Will, he was the owner of CrossFit Myrtle Beach at the time. He was in the process of selling it, and I spent the first month of our relationship going back and watching all the previous years of the CrossFit Games. And I spent all the time whenever we would hang out with his friends listening to them say things like, yeah, man, I'm going to the box today, and have you seen the WOD? It's a 20-minute AMRAP with thrusters and snatches and wall balls. Like, what? Like, what are they even saying, right? And anyone that's ever done CrossFit knows that, like, it sucks, right? Like, not only is learning the terminology hard, but, like, doing the workouts themselves are even more difficult. Like, I look at these CrossFitter bodies, and they're just beautiful, and I go in there, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and obviously it's always scaled, but, you know, I, like, do one workout, and then I can't walk for a week. But I will say, whenever I have ever done it continuously, no, I'm not doing it right now, but whenever I've done it continuously, it changes my body, my cardiovascular system. Like, it changes everything. So, you know, I'm investing in this terminology and this time and this love-hate relationship for change and for growth. So hopefully, over these next 6 weeks, that is what I'm doing for you. You're investing this time with me on Tuesdays at 1 so that I can help you grow and develop and just knowledge of the event planning world. So I'm going to introduce some of the language and the tools, but you'll have to be patient with me because I kind of, you know, flow through these things, and I'm going to try very, very hard. If I think that I'm saying something that is maybe a little exclusive to the hospitality industry per se, I'll try to break it down and make it so that it makes more sense. And if you don't understand and you want to understand it better, drop me a comment below, ask me a question, send me a DM. I'm certainly happy to explain it in further depth for you as well. So let's get started. This week, we are going to start with the most simple of services, which is our event enhancements. Okay, so these are going to be those little things that can be added to your program that's going to add the largest impact. Now, so many times people think when I say event enhancements, they go straight to the end. Like, they're the last minute things that can be added on to the event. But what I'm going to teach you today is that really event enhancements begin in the planning process. So I know that everyone's got a little event planner in them, right? So like either you've planned a family reunion or a birthday party, or, you know, maybe you've just hosted like a dinner at your house. Like, you've executed the basic steps of event planning. Now, What happens is whenever you start planning a little larger event, let's say maybe you know this because you've planned a wedding before, you start adding all these moving pieces to the mix, right? So more moving pieces leads to more conversations, more emails, more text, more phone calls, more lists, more everything, and less of what? Time, right? Time to do the things that your life requires. That's why so many people get overwhelmed by this, because events have so many moving pieces that are coming at them in all these directions, and that's just this one little piece. Has nothing to do with the fact that, like, in your life you've got all these other things that are just coming at you in all other directions on your personal side. That's where it becomes overwhelming. That's where it becomes stressful. So above all things, whenever you are starting working with an event planner or you're hiring one, you are gifting yourself. I'm going to say gifting. You are gifting yourself the one thing that you thought you couldn't buy, and that is more time. So a lot of people ask me, whenever I'm working with a client, who am I typically working with within that organization? And the reality of that statement is that I am usually working with the event planner of that company, right? And they're like, well, that's so stupid. Like, why would this company hire and have this event planner and then they're just going to go out and hire you? Like, what sense does that make? Well, I told you my mama was a high school math teacher. So I am going to break this down in the most simplest of ways, right? I'm going to take us all the way back to like elementary school. So in solving a basic math equation, everyone has heard of that acronym PEMDAS, right? It's PEMDAS. Okay, I can spell it, I swear. But it stands for, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? We all know this acronym. So how does that pertain? Well, hang with me here. This is how simple it is. When event planners for a company hire an event planning company, event planners, let's see if I said that right. An event planner in a company hires an event planning company. Yeah, there we go. They're not saying they can't do the job. What they're saying is that, these are my parentheses, right? It goes parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, right? Okay. So there in these parentheses, there's a portion of their event that can be exponentially better by multiplying the amount of work that's getting done, by dividing their workload, by adding an event professional and more experience, and also by subtracting the amount of risk that is solely on their shoulders, right? Like what I did there? All right. Well, like I said, if you want to be a better event planner, you just want to have better events. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again, surround yourself with people that know more than you and just soak it all in, right? So many times these companies hire these, young kids right out of college because obviously they can pay them less, and they come out with 1 to 2 years of experience. Like, for easy numbers, easy math, we'll say 5 years. So this event planner then hires me. I have 15 years of experience. Immediately now in this program, we have 20 years of experience planning this event. And that's if I bring no one else from my team to the table, right? So that's wonderful. And then beyond that, I don't know if you caught it at the very, very end, there's this transference of risk. So a lot of stress that comes on people is they have all these pieces that are all on their shoulders, and it's their job to make sure everyone's getting in the right place and that all the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted and all this stuff. And there's all this stress and pressure on this person's shoulder that whenever you're working with an event planning company, they're assuming that risk as well. So now it's not just you. Now it's you and the event planning company. So that's also a really wonderful enhancement that comes along with it. I will say there are some cases whenever the client is not the event planner. There are some cases where the client is like the CEO or the CFO or the marketing director, and it is literally not their job to plan events, right? So they have to get it done. So what these people recognize whenever they're hiring us is that their time is worth money. Okay? So, it actually costs them more money than it's saving them. So I'm just going to do a really quick example, and it's going to hopefully be like, you'll be like, boo. Okay, so let's just say, these are all fake numbers, but I'm just spitballing here. Let's say a lawyer bills out $300 an hour to a client, okay? So they're like, okay, I have got to do this Christmas party for my company, and I've got 6 months. Let's say it's going to take them 40 hours over the course of 6 months to plan this event. All right, so how much money is that? That is $12,000. So not only are they going to lose the money in actually paying for the event, they are going to lose $12,000 in money that they are not going to be able to make because they are spending their time on planning this event. So let's say said lawyer gets very smart and says, you know what? I don't want to spend my time on this. I'm going to hire an event planning company. So let's say this event planning company charges $100 an hour, and they're only going to take 20 hours because, let's break that down a little further. So if you're planning an event and it's not your job and you're not doing that, you're going to have to research different venues. You're going to have to research different vendors. Once you get your vendors, your venues, you're going to have to figure out who to talk to. And then they're going to ask you these questions that you're not really going to understand. So then you're going to spend these time trying to get understanding of what they're asking you before you can even give them answers, right? So it's going to take someone a little bit longer who's not doing this professionally. On the flip side, when it comes to event planning, it should take us way less time. Why? Because when you give us the specs of your program, and specs stands for specifications, which means you've got 100 people and you want a plated dinner and you want music, just the things that make up your event. Like once you tell us the specs, we've already, by the end of that conversation, narrowed it down to about 2 or 3 probably best venues for you. Not only that, we probably have the person we need to talk to already on speed dial in our phone. And if we don't, we know exactly who we're looking for. And when we talk to them, we know exactly what we're asking for, right? So you hire this event planning company where you're paying them $100 an hour. It's going to take us 20 hours to plan it. Well, that's what? $2,000? So yeah, you still got to pay for your event, but instead of losing $12,000, you're paying $2,000, right? So if anyone's ever teetering on whether or not they should work with an event planner, I always ask the question, how much is your time worth? Right? I hate to even point this out, but my sweet husband, he won't even do our lawn because he values the time that he can spend with me and our sweet puppy Cabo and with family. He values his time so much more than the $40 to $100 he's going to spend on a Saturday trying to cut and weed eat and grass and all that jazz, right? So how much is your time worth? I'll tell you, I have never, ever, 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 ever had anyone come to me at the end of an event and go, you know what, man, I wish I would have done this whole thing by myself. Never once have I heard those words. Because usually by the time they've gotten to that point, they've already tacked on 10,000 other tasks that they never knew they were going to have to do. And they are just so grateful that the one little portion that is now exponentially better, they didn't have to touch, right? So, understanding that event planner. Working with an event planner is going to allow you more time for your job, your family, your kids, your life. How much is your time worth? Now, okay, let's see. So working with an event planning company enhances your program by allowing you more time. It adds experience and offers transference of risk. So in essence, you should also have less stress. That's really wonderful. I don't think that anyone has ever been on their deathbed and their one regret was that they didn't work those 5 extra hours that week, right? And so, what I like to say in this regard is that you're just sort of winning from the beginning with this event enhancement, because a lot of times people will say to me, Jessica, wow, this was such a great event. This is so wonderful. Are you proud of it? And for me, part of a successful event is those in pictures and those videos and part of that is what it is for me. But for me, whenever I'm going back and I'm assessing whether or not I thought that event went really well, I'm going into was my communication effective? Did I lead my team without hesitation? If there were problems, did I make the right decision? So at the end of the night, if I'm feeling did that, it has this much to do with what it looks like and what it feels like. Or no, let me take that back. It has this much to do with what it looks like. It has everything to do with how it feels like. And I'm not going to lie to you. There have been times where I have been at the end of an event and people have been like, wow, Jessica, that was wonderful. That was great. Like, this is, And inside of me, I was like, oh, Jessica, like, you didn't make a good decision there. Like, you didn't lead your team with confidence. Like, you second guessed yourself. Like, I beat myself up on the backside because I know that I could have been a better planner. So, event enhancement, winning from the beginning, starting in the planning stages. Now, okay, we're going to move on. So now you're on site. Okay, you're the event planner. You're the event planner right now. So now you're on site. And if you've never been an event planner, let me point out, let me just describe to you what a day in the life is like on site at an event, right? Okay, so you're standing behind the registration desk. You have a line of people out the door and around the corner. You have someone on this side, it's an attendee coming up, and they're going, the meeting room is so hot. Can you get them to turn it down? It's so hot. I can't even pay attention. It's so hot. And then you have an AV guy on your left side, and he's like, hey, yeah, we're having some trouble connecting to the Wi-Fi, and there's not really any sound coming out of the computer going in through our system. Did you get that? Did you get the right aux cord? Because we thought they were going to be coming in with the PC, and they actually have this Mac, so we need to get a different cord, and we can rent it to you for like $200 plus. Oh, and by the way, like, this is for your general session that starts in 15 minutes. So, like, can you just let me know something really fast? And then, of course, you always have that vendor, and bless, I love them, but for the reception that night that has shown up 10 hours early, and they're standing in front of you as well going, hey, where should I set up for tonight? Right? And then you've got the volunteer who was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so excited. I'm going to be an event planner. I'm going to be your right hand. And like, they saw their friend off in the corner and they're like at the bar getting a drink. So they're nowhere around. That is what it is like to be an event planner on site, a meeting planner. If you're a meeting planner, I'm going to say it right. If you're a meeting planner and you just heard me tell that story, you're probably like, oh my gosh, how does she know me? Right? Because I know you. So it's in these moments that you're like, I need more hands. Well, guess what? One of the event enhancements we sell is our professional staff. I shouldn't say we sell our professional staff. One of the event enhancements and the services that we offer, that's what I should say, is our professional staff. So, last week I was telling you about our inventors and who they are as people, and they're amazing, and they're these independent contractors. Well, we don't just use them for setups and teardowns and stuff internally. They can actually come on site to your program as well and work as a part of your team. So, we're going to keep breaking it down. What does that mean? That means they can come in like the day before or 2 days before or a week before the event, whenever you've gotten here and you're ready to start getting things ready, and they can help you do swag bag stuffing or welcome bag stuffing. So this is where you've got, sponsors or people that are sending in collateral or giveaways, things like that. So when people are registering, they're given this gift. Now, you probably think to yourself, well, that's stupid. I could just do that myself. Well, when you have, let's say, 2,000 swag bags that need to be staffed, and I can tell you this because we do this every single year, it takes 4 people 4 hours to get that many bags stuffed, right? So that's a really big time consumer. And if you're coming on site only a day or 2 before your event, and you're spending all of that time doing nothing but like stuffing bags, you're not getting ready for the rest of the conference. So next day, they can stand behind the registration desk and they can actually run the registration for you. They can sit off in another little location and offer hospitality services where they're answering questions for out-of-town guests, offering local recommendations. And then one that's actually kind of cool, I've actually been hired to do this in my earlier years, so I know it's an interesting and weird thing, but larger conferences really benefit from this, is human arrows. And so it's one thing to have signage, but when you have so many people moving, and let's just say you have limited counter space at the registration, a human arrow is literally a person who stands out away and answers questions. So that person knows where to direct people, times, when things start, what rooms they're in. So they're just kind of this like all-knowing person. And if you've got people coming out of a general session and moving into a space where the meeting rooms are like down the hall, around the corner to the left kind of thing, then it just helps to kind of move people, because usually there's only about 15 minutes or so in between those types of functions. So that human arrow just kind of helps move people along versus having 100 people trying to stand in front of a signage board and figure out where they're going next. So now, beyond that, we have event assistants. So let's say you're the lead planner on site and you are now trying to get things done, an event assistant can come on and literally be your right hand. So that means that if you need to, you've got 2 lunches, 3 lunches happening in different locations, you can hand them a BEO, which I will time out on BEO. BEO stands for a banquet event order, and it's what the hotel puts out to their team so they know what the AV requirements are in each room, what the room setup should be, if there's any catering, any food and beverage, that's in there, and anything special that the hotel should be setting up. That is a BEO or an EO, a banquet event order or an event order. So you can give that to an event assistant, and they can help you go oversee those room sets and make sure those are being set up correctly, make sure the menus have what the menus need to have on it. It's just another set of hands, another pair of eyes that makes your life a little more simple on site. All right, so event enhancements on site, internal processes, professional staff, gone through all that. Now, I want to talk about how easy it is to have that on site at your program. All it requires is the date, the time, and the outline of tasks that may be performed. And I only ask for that because it helps me. Like I said, I've got 30 inventors. It helps me to sort of match the right person with the right task. Now, I will say this. For us, we require a 3-hour minimum because we have to make it worth their time to come out. But there's always something to do. So, even if they come in for swag bag stuffing and then it's a matter of setting up the registration, there's always something for them to do. So beyond that, if they want, if I will say, I'm wearing this shirt, you can tell it has no invents here on the front. We only have this little invents here on the arm. Because this is what we like to wear whenever we're coming on site and we're acting as a part of your team or serving as an extension of your team. This is a little less branded. And I will say, if groups have like a staff shirt they want them to wear, that is totally fine, because the reality is we want to be a part of your team. We want to show that we are there with you as your team. So we are not opposed to also assimilating right into that culture with the wear as well. All right, so we made it through the planning process. We're rocking internally. And now it is time to make that ballroom or meeting room that they have been in for every single year, for every single meeting, every single function, be this fun, unique networking experience, right? Okay, so if you've ever watched any of my lives before, I have said it 1,000 times and I will say it again, because the easiest place to start, if you have a limited budget but you are trying to create a wow factor, start with the lights. If they have walked into that meeting room or that ballroom every single year and it's fluorescent lighted and it's just the exact same plane, even if you have standard centerpieces, standard linens, if that whole room is blue, people are going to walk in and go, wow. Okay, so there's my tip to you. If you have a limited budget, start with your lighting. Now, sometimes we'll work in like string lighting. String lighting is always fun. It adds this warm sort of glow, but just lighting in any way, lighting. Another cool trick we like to use whenever you're going into the same space every single year is basically mixing up the room set. Now, what does that mean? So many hotels or venues have like what they normally set up. Like, this is the wall that we use for the front set. This is the corner that we always put our bar, right? And they've probably chosen those places because, like, logistically they probably make the most sense, or they logistically flow better. I'm sure there's reasons. But sometimes I feel like it's just because it's just the easy way. It's just the easy, standard, normal way, and it's fast and efficient. And, when you get into that world, I've been in that world, like, you're not going for out of the box and different and interesting. You're going for, what gets them in and out and, like, what services the group the most efficiently. Like, that's what you're going for. And I will tell you, whenever I go to venues or hotels out of town that I've never been to before, it's really hard for me because I spend a lot of time trying to convince them to try something different. Now, I will say on behalf of our local hotels here, I love them. Like, I think they've finally given up the fight with me. Some of them will just, like, send me a blank diagram on social tables, which is a diagramming software, which we will talk a little bit more about next week. It's a diagramming software, and I have it. Hotels are, they have it here, and so they'll just send me a blank diagram and be like, here you go, Jess. Just lay out what you want in the space, and whenever you're done, we'll just pepper in where our things fit best. So they've just gotten to this point. Like, I think one venue at one hotel, I actually think they get excited every year because they can't wait to see like what we're going to create together. So that's always a really unique twist on it. And then something as easy as, instead of using banquet rounds, using long rectangle tables and pushing them together and kind of creating this like family style sitting area, that changes the space. We actually did an event one time, it's probably been in the first year, or even back with Leo, where they wanted a family style table. The whole point of their conference was just creating this family culture. And so I think it was like for 300 people, we created this one huge long table that it spanned the entire length of the ballroom. And we had these like legs that came out. But the idea was that everybody was sitting at one table. Standard linens. I do think we peppered in a lot more votives and maybe a few florals here and there, but standard lighting. But then when the people walked in, they were like, wow, that's so cool. Like, we are all sitting at one table. And it is very hard to put 300 people at one table. Now, on an easy scale, like I just said, it could be something as simple as just calling us up and saying, hey, I got 20 tables and I just want to put a really cool centerpiece on it. That's easy, right? That's an event enhancement. Or maybe you use the standard centerpiece and you go, I just want to upgrade the linen. Like, I just want to have some nice linen. It's, linen, that's the tablecloth. Or maybe you just add a runner. Like, those are all little itty bitty touches that your attendees are going to notice and they're going to appreciate because they're going to see that you've tried. Now, I will say, if touching each table is kind of hard because you've got, say 30 to 60 tables, somewhere where I like to kind of send my clients is I get them to, especially if they have a program, I get them to focus on the front set, right? So we can't touch 60 tables and spend $50 each on a centerpiece. We're going to focus onto one center thing. So that's going to be our front set. Now, I will say, most hotels, I'm speaking on hotels, venues typically don't. But most hotels have like an in-house AV company, and they can set up these gorgeous AV sets with, these huge screens and black velour, backdrop. But year over year, that too can get a little redundant. So there are fun things you can do to your front set. If it's a themed conference especially, add props, right? Change the podium. Instead of the wooden one that's always there, let's upgrade that podium to a clear acrylic and uplight it. Or, the backdrop, instead of using a black velour drape, let's do this textured sort of backdrop with uplights and downlights. Like, there are fun ways to sort of play with that front set. So maybe you have standard centerpieces and maybe you have standard linens, but you are creating a focal point where you want people to look and see and pay attention on that front set. And they will notice that you have put that extra effort into that front set. Now, that's just a few ways in the decor department that you can add a little something extra, right? So I want to highlight this past Thursday. I'm going to just put a little plug in. If you don't get our newsletter, go sign up on our website. It's really wonderful. We just send it out every other Thursday, and it's our inspiration newsletter, right? Okay, so if you got it this last week, awesome. If you didn't, scroll down a little bit and look at the last one that we just put out. We put out one called for event enhancements, and I love my sister because she's like the brains behind it all. And she titled it, Breathe Life into Any Event. So where does that take me? All right. Have you ever been in a room where like there's a bunch of strangers and it's quiet, right? So like people are trying to like whisper because they feel awkward. They don't want to be like the loudest person in the room. They don't want to be obnoxious and they don't want to be heard across the room, right? It's awkward. Like getting an elevator, like a quiet elevator is super unnerving. So maybe decor is not where you see value. Maybe it's in live entertainment. So putting a steel drummer, DJ, acoustic guitarist, the hula, fire show, a live band, any of those things. They will literally breathe life into your event. They kind of set this minimum sound level where you can have normal conversations, you feel like you're able to interact, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're the center of attention. So I love adding any type of live entertainment, because even if people come in and they feel awkward because they don't know anybody, they don't know who they want to talk to, they can walk over and watch. And that's okay as well. So it gives them something to do and it keeps them in the room. Now, moving on past that, interactive live entertainment options are also really fun. A lot of times when we have families, it's a really cool way to go. Not even just families, I mean, it can be for adults. But, photo booths, and I could list you out 1,000 different photo booths. So when people call me and they want a photo booth, just know I'm going to ask you 20 questions of what you want that photo booth to look like, how many people you want to fit in it, if you want any props, what your backdrops. Like, photo booths are like a whole other episode all in themselves. But photo booths, caricatures, face painters, balloon twisting, stilt walkers, these are the kind of entertainment that they're going to draw people into the room. They're going to keep them there because people want to watch them as well. And they're going to give them a keepsake. So when they're leaving, you've put this branded something on it and they can take that with them, and then maybe it's up on their refrigerator and it talks about being, this was the date of the annual conference and this is where you took these pictures. And guess what? They're going to be excited about coming back next year. So little thing, big punch. Now, when companies want people to become more engaged and they want them to interact with others, a simple event enhancement, and it can be as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be, is simply adding games to a space. Now, I will tell you, we do that a lot. We have standard proposals that can list out anything from beach and lawn games to arcade, sports lounge games, all the way to simulators and virtual reality zones, right? So you can add or subtract anything you want to create. And for any of my event planners out there that are like, yeah, but see, our events are only for adults. We don't have any children. I will tell you this. I have done enough programs now at this point to say with 100% confidence, adults have more fun with games than children do. If it was children, I would almost venture to say you should totally go for carnival style games. Children love that. But when it comes to cornhole or ping pong or pool tables, electronic darts, double shot, any of those type of games, adults are going to be all over that. And men especially, okay? Men especially, because men are sometimes hard with programs. So that's an easy way to sort of add a little something and make it fun for everybody. Now, if you are limited on space and maybe you don't want everyone running around, maybe you want them just to be able to sit down, enjoy, let their dinner settle, another easy way to add a little extra to your event is add on some after dinner entertainment. So maybe that's a minimalist, maybe that's an improv show, team trivia, dueling pianos, anything that just adds that punch at the end of the night that leaves your attendees, laughing or just feeling the love. Those are the things that are going to leave lasting impressions. And I can tell you, most people are if the next year they're talking about the event, they might remember a really awesome speaker that they saw. But more than not, they're going to say something like, oh my gosh, man, last year we had this mentalist and he did this show after dinner and it was so cool. It blew my mind. Okay, so it's just adding those little itty bitty things that maybe you didn't think of before, but now maybe you're thinking of it. They're just going to add that little extra touch of special to your event. So I will say, what I've just thrown out right there, I feel like are kind of the standard norm suggestions. And that's awful to admit, but I feel like I've almost gotten jaded to throwing out those things because I've done it so many times. And so many times people are like, wow, those are great ideas. But for me, I'm like, oh, Jessica, come on, think outside the box, right? So I'm going to take a few minutes just to tell you a few things that we've done that I feel like are a little bit out of the box. Wouldn't be very inventive of me if I didn't share those with you. So some cool things we've done. Basically adding a sand sculpture to a hotel lobby or even an event space that's either branded to the group or branded to the conference. That's cool. People love that. They'll go up, they'll take pictures with it, right? Or human tables. If you scroll down and you look at that newsletter, there's a human table and she has, champagne glasses, which is awesome, right? So you walk in and you have this human table and she hands you this champagne glass. We've even had it where the human table came out at the end of the night when everyone was like dancing and partying with the band, and she was passing out like cake pops and she was the dessert table. Cool, right? Okay, so human statues are also really neat. You've probably seen them in, videos or on the street of New York, or where people just stand there, right? And you're kind of like, why is that interesting? People are enamored by them. They will stand there and they will watch them. Like, it's so cool. They'll take their picture with them. Like, they're a really neat feature as well. Interactive stations, kind of like a Blue Jean bar or like a Maui Gym bar. What these do is they're more like VIP luxury gifts. So people will come up to them, and the attendants working it, they'll actually fit you into into jeans, and like, you won't change right there, but like they will, measure and all these specifications, especially for, sunglasses, and they'll give you these custom gifts, and then you'll take them with you whenever you leave. So it's a very like VIP kind of luxury event enhancement. Cigar rolling station, that's cool just because people enjoy going up and learning about it. It's not something that we see every day. Is someone sitting around, rolling a cigar in like the old sort of Cuban way. And then they can either, go outside and smoke one, or, they can keep it with them. It's branded. It could be a little keepsake as well, so that's cool. And then, I have harped on it. If you went on our Adventure series, like the do-it-yourself stations are incredible. So the creating your own sugar scrub, or even like a sand casting station, something where people actually get to go in and put their hands in there. That's really cool. A lot of times we use those in trade show booths simply because they will drive traffic into those trade show booths for the partners who are obviously trying to, in our case, sell Myrtle Beach. So a nitro coffee bar or a tasting station is also really cool as well. Depending on the venue, it is something that we can obviously have brought in. But a lot of times if you just go to your hotel and say like, hey, could you guys, have a bourbon tasting station over in the corner aside from the regular bar, we'd love to add that to our Havana Nights themed event. So cool ways that can just add that little something extra to it. Next week I'll talk a little bit more about budgets, because obviously they are super important. But the event enhancements that I'm like throwing out right now, or that I've mentioned throughout this week, are typically some of the easiest like add-on options. Obviously, when it comes to like live entertainment elements, the earlier you get them on, the better it is, because they get booked up very, very quickly, especially if it's like a weekend, or it's in our season, especially here in Myrtle Beach, if it's during the summer. So, yes, these are little add-on things and they can be done last minute. Like, good grief, I've thrown games onto a program a week before the program. I mean, things can be added on very last minute, but I can tell you, the earlier you add them on, the better, because you're going to get that better quality entertainment. I mean, the thing about us is like we know a guy and we know another guy and we know another guy, and we've created this list of like top tier performers. But, the later that we get the request, it's, we're going to have to kind of go through this list. So the earlier the better, but obviously it's a last minute addition usually, and that's okay as well, because either way, it's going to leave that lasting impression. So, you know what? I will tell you, same as the professional staff too, it's one of those things where to add these on, it's something as simple as like date, time, how long they're playing, location. For me, budget is nice, because how I like to proceed with this is really kind of offering 2 to 3 options and then letting you choose which one that you would like. So that's kind of how I like to approach this one. But also understanding what you're trying to achieve with it also kind of helps me. So those are usually the questions that I'll ask. But it's super simple. That's about as complicated as that conversation gets to be able to get these things added to your program. So I just want to throw that out there so you realize it's pretty simple. Okay, so let me go over here. Oh, I see so many people are watching. I love that. We've come up with a better way so I can see who's watching. So that's awesome. Pat Grant says more money. I don't really know what that means, but sure. Oh, I wish I would have looked down whenever you wrote this because I have no idea what you're saying. I'll have to go back and watch it where you said it says makes perfect sense. You do recruiting, and 90% of the time you're working with the company's HR or recruiting department. Big events need the big guns. Yeah, for sure. That's absolutely true. Oh, and then Kim Downs, who's one of my clients. I love her. We traveled with her to Georgia last year. I think we're traveling. Oh, if they're still on their program, Kim, I'm going to have to call you. Their program was in Hilton Head, and then they're back in Myrtle Beach next year. So one of my clients that I just love, and I love her year over year. So yay, thanks for watching. Let's see. Wow, everybody, I really appreciate this. This is way better because at least now I don't feel like I'm sitting here all by myself, right? So this has been fun for me. I at first was like, what do I even say about event enhancements? And the more I started writing, the more it just kind of flowed out of me. So I'm super excited to see what I'm going to come up with in the next few weeks. Just to kind of sum it up, event planners, they can enhance your program literally from the beginning. So in the planning to the on-site internal processes, all the way to those party bonuses, right? And obviously there are way too many to mention on this live. I couldn't even pretend to call them all out. But I hope I've given you some cool, fun ideas. Maybe if you've never thought about them, you're thinking about them now. Or maybe if you just assume that no one's going to care, so you just don't take that little extra step to add that little itty-bitty thing. Maybe now you will. So, thanks for watching. What a fun live. So let's see. Next week, we're going to be right back here at 1 o'clock on the Invents Facebook page. And we are going to be deep diving into event design and themed concepts. Yeah, this is like the fun stuff, but this is like the super, super hard stuff. And I'm so excited to tell you about it. I just have no idea how I'm going to break it down. So this will certainly be developed over the next week. So hopefully, if you've never watched one, you will definitely come and tune in next week. Please feel free, comment, tell me your thoughts. Tell me if you agree, if you don't agree. I don't care. We all have opinions, so whatever. And like I said, if you have any more questions or you just want to know a little something else and maybe you don't want to comment, send me a direct message. I'm happy to answer them there as well. So next week, 1 p.m. live. It'll be week 4 in our informational series, and we'll be talking about event design and themed concepts. So, the fun stuff. All right, we'll connect with you there.